What is AuDHD? Autism and ADHD combined. Part 2. We're going to move on to ADHD symptoms now. 7 ADHD traits plus 5 AuDHD bonus traits, so stay until the end. Trait number 1 is that you lack a filter for input. So the absence of an input filter essentially indicates that there isn't one. My brain doesn't have a system in place to sort out irrelevant information. Because of that, I'm getting everything at once. Right now, I'm in an environment with low stimulation, but the light is still visible from my laptop right there. Over there, I can hear the AC sound. In the other room, I can hear the fridge, and there is a light coming from the window. That is constantly getting my attention, and I find it difficult to focus when I'm trying to type, especially when I'm under a lot of stress, let alone if I'm in a high stimulus setting, such as a party, a bar, or a crowded street or store. This explains why many people with ADHD have auditory processing problems since, yes, when I had a hearing test done as a child, my ears worked just fine. We can hear perfectly well in a low stimulus, calm area, yet you placed us in loud surroundings. We don't have a filter to block out the sounds of 18 people clinking their glasses. There are several discussions going on, and you can hear this woman's high heels clacking on the ground as she walks. We hear everything. Paying attention to what the person in front of us is saying is really difficult. An indication of ADHD. Trait number 2, rejection sensitivity. So many ADHD reports show signs of rejection sensitivity, just being really sensitive to real or perceived rejection. Additionally, some of this could be natural. It may simply be a feature of ADHDers' brain growth, but there are also numerous studies that indicate that this is also a result of lived experience. A study discovered children with ADHD were 4 times as likely to get criticism comments about their behavior in school compared to their peers without ADHD. ADHDers are accustomed to micro-criticism and rejection, like a great deal. So, is it really our fault that we are constantly on the hunt or hypervigilant for more rejection? All we're attempting to do is be one step ahead of the coming criticism. Number 3. Boredom. Painful boredom. But didn't you mention that you had no input filter? That's everything coming your way constantly. That there must be something to concentrate on in order to prevent your constant boredom. Incorrect, my friend. You are mistaken there. The continuous input, I believe, causes us to become bored. We always encounter so much input that nothing immediately stands out, making it difficult to pick a focal point. It causes us to feel restless and bored. Number 4. Trait of ADHD is one that we actually heard about in the autistic area as well, emotional dysregulation. ADHD and emotional dysregulation go hand in hand. ADHD is sometimes characterized as a state in which your mind is a sequence of light switches, correct? At one moment it is on, and another it is not. Because of our total mismanagement of time, everything either exists at this moment or doesn't exist at all. The same holds true for our feelings. Many of us suffer from what I like to refer to as emotional object permanence, or the absence of it. If we don't feel it right now, it seems like we haven't felt it before and never will. It is wonderful when we're content because we think, oh, everything's fine, everything will always be well, but sadness can throw us into a state of intense hopelessness. Another example of monotropic thinking is hyperfocus. It differs greatly from autistic monotropic thinking. Hyperfocus is similar to tunnel vision when working on a project. When you are working on a task, everything else disappears, and you simply complete it without realizing how much time has passed. Because you were so focused, the rest of the world disappeared. When someone interrupts you and you get a jolt on your way back into the living world. I say, you scared me, she answered with, I said your name 3 times. However, I heard nothing. Number 5 is ADHD trait of difficulty starting, switching, and finishing tasks or chores. So, yes, we normally have a lot of trouble being productive. We have difficulty completing tasks, whether it's beginning, completing, or transitioning between tasks. Our brains function like trains with malfunctioning brakes traveling at full speed. When we tried switching between tracks at high speeds, it's not safe and can go off rails super fast. As a result, we either struggle or go really insane. Transitioning from a complete stop to full speed in an instant is extremely challenging. It feels really strange to begin the process of gradually increasing pace, especially if you lack brakes. It can get difficult to a point that causes ADHD paralysis. Number 6. Trait of ADHD is the one I already mentioned earlier. It is time blindness, which is the mismanagement of time. Essentially, it is the notion that our perception of time is not linear. For many people with ADHD, time is more of a spiral or light switch than anything other than a straight line. Trait number 7 is fidgeting or internal restlessness. Not being able to sit still for a long period of time, the feeling of ants in the pants or restlessness, like you will go insane if you don't move. And your mind wanders because it makes it so hard to concentrate. Sometimes it's not an external restlessness but an internal one where your brain goes 100 miles an hour. We talked about the characteristics of ADHD in video 1, and we'll discuss our characteristics of autism in this one. Also, we will explore what it is like to experience both of these conditions simultaneously. AuDHD signs. The first is emotional dysregulation, which I discussed in both ADHD and autism. Characteristics. I felt compelled to bring it up once more here. Emotional dysregulation is essentially a trait of both ADHD and autism, hence, the high probability that you will encounter a significant amount of emotional dysregulation throughout your life. For my part, I suffered from severe emotional dysregulation in my 20s when I left the security of my parents' house. Even though chaotic, it was regimented to me. Or at least I had added regimentation to my needs. For me, AuDHD emotional dysregulation can look like really big, really intense feelings. Inconsistent sleep needs are the second AuDHD symptom. ADHD is far more likely to suffer from insomnia, restless legs, and narcolepsy, among other sleep disorders. Autistic people need even more sleep than your typical person because we are processing so much input at such a high level all the time, so we need more rest. If we were just autistic, we might sleep better than ADHDers. However, I find that when you're both, one can switch between becoming. I'm awake and full of energy, so I'm not sleeping at all and get up at 3 in the morning to work and do other things, only to then actually needing 11 hours of sleep because I exhaust myself. The third indication of ADHD is a narrow tolerance window. In other words, if you have autism and are hypersensitive, you are prone to being overstimulated. Too many stimuli simply put you in a really weird place. However, if you have ADHD, you're more likely to not have enough stimulation, meaning that if you don't have enough, you get restless or, worse, bored. If you are ADHD, you have a very limited range of interests because you can become so bored easily. Which means if you're ADHD, you have a very narrow window where you actually feel properly stimulated, not overwhelmed, but not bored either. Just right. You're Goldilocks. Whoa, what a great place to be your perfect, very particular Goldilocks way. Last, AuDHD fifth sign is a compensating behavior, or what one would call masking. The term masking isn't really appropriate for what's taking place, because wearing a mask gives the impression that you're hiding your true self underneath it, over everything. There you are hiding underneath. If you simply remove the mask, you are still who you truly are. However, in my opinion, masking is more about using someone else's building blocks to transform yourself into a version that resembles them. You're using other people's blocks rather than your own. So, it doesn't truly represent the true you. Unmasking is more complicated than simply removing a mask. You would have to sort of break yourself apart and rebuild. So compensatory behaviors are basically just behaviors we use to compensate for our autistic or ADHD traits. Some people with ADHD are among the world's most well-organized individuals, perfectionists because if they weren't, their whole existence would collapse. If you've believed for years that because you don't fit the stereotypes, you couldn't have either autism or ADHD exactly but have some traits of each, it's possible that is AuDHD. Keep watching my videos so you can discover more about your brain and yourself. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up and let me know in the comments below your stories. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Your support means the world to me.